Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2017 Annual Emission Reporting Workshop. My name is Ali Ghassemi, and I'm a Program Supervisor in Annual Emission Reporting Program. Before we start, let's take care of a couple of housekeeping items. Cell phone, I would like to ask everyone if you don't mind to put it on the silence or vibration mode. Restroom, they are located in a hallway down the hall from the auditorium as soon as you exit out. In case of emergencies, if we have to stay here, please just sit on your, stay in your seat, bend your head, and in case of earthquake or something, and then hold on to your feet. And then if you have to evacuate, please use the door behind you, which is the exit to the auditorium. And now, I would like to introduce some of my staff that they are here today. From here, Mani Fruzian, he's a Senior Air Quality Engineer in Annual Emission Reporting Program. I have Daniel Cho, if you guys stand up or raise your hand, and then Don Hobbs, Tim Kubota, and Victor Huan. And also I have here our contractor who developed this tool for us, Natasha Mascal, Naiche Luhan. Okay, now let me tell you what we're gonna do today. What is our agenda for today? Okay, first I'm gonna give you an overview of our program and go over some of the important requirements of our program. Then I'm going to tell you what is new this year. After that, I'm going to provide you with overview of the reporting process and go over several of the most frequently asked questions. After that, I'm going to provide you with overview of the reporting tool, the AER reporting tool, and tell you some of the features, important features of the tool. And after that, we're going to have a live demonstration. When we are done, finally, we're going to take your questions. You guys have to wait until the last, when it comes to the question and answer session. So don't interrupt us during the presentation. I would like to ask you to do that. And at the same time, if you have any specific questions that you want to tell us afterwards, district staff and myself, we're going to stay around after the workshop to help you and to respond to your specific questions. There are also some computers in the front for some of you that you are new and you want to use the program and see how it works or go through the process of logging in, registration. Just staff, they are here to help you or to show you how the system works. Okay. Annual emission reporting is required under the state law and subsequently under Rule 301, Section E. Under Rule 301, facilities are required to report their emissions from both permitted and non-permitted equipment and operations. Facilities also required to pay emission fees if the emissions are for the criteria and toxics above the reporting thresholds specified in Rule 301, Section E, Table 3 and Table 4. AB 2588 facilities. This is the Public Right to Know program. It's a state program. Facilities subject to this program, they have to report about 177 toxic compounds. And these facilities, they're required to update their toxics inventory once every 4 years. Facilities in AB 2588 program are actually categorized in 4 groups. They are in either phase 1A, 1B, phase 2, and phase 3. And for this reporting period, which is calendar year 2017, phase 2 facilities are required to update their toxics inventory. But you should not be worried about whether or not your facility is subject to this program because the tool is already tagged your facility as AB 2588 facility if you are required to update your information, your update toxic compounds this year. At the same time, it also indicates whether or not you are subject to this program. It doesn't matter if this is your reporting year or not. So this page actually tells you, even if you are in Title V program, you're subject to Reclaim program and AB 2588. Exemption. We do have exemption from fees, but this exemption is from fees only. You are still required to file your emission report. There is an exemption, fee exemption required for dry cleaner, small dry cleaners that emits less than 2 tons per year of perchloroethylene. There are also exemptions for small facilities that emits less than 2 tons per year of formaldehyde, methylene chloride, or perchloroethylene. But please remember that you have to be qualified to be a small business, and you have to file an exemption request. The definition for a small business is having 10 employees or less, and $500,000 in annual gross receipts. What we're going to do with the information we collect from you? We're going to use this information to develop criteria and toxics inventory for the basin. We also use your information to amend existing rule or develop new rule. This information also used to develop control measures used in air quality management plan. We also use your information to determine whether your facility is subject to any of other district programs such as Title V and Reclaim, and also we establish if your facility is in compliance with other rules and regulation. And lastly, we use this information to project our revenue. Who should file? If you received a notification letter, you should file. At the same time, if you are a Phase 2 facility, AB 2588 Phase 2 facility, you're required to file. If you did not receive any notification letter and you are not Phase 2 facility, however, your facility's total emissions exceed any of the reporting thresholds for both criteria and toxics reported in Table 3 and Table 4 of Rule 301, you are required to file. There are possibilities that you have not received any notification, but your facility exceed this reporting threshold. You please remember the responsibility is on you and you are required to file. When is the due date? The due date is March 16, 2018. Your report should be postmarked or delivered to AQMD before 5 p.m. on March 16, 2018. Reports that are received or postmarked after March 16, 2018 considered to be late, and they are subject to surcharges or penalties. Where should you submit your report? The package that you received, there should be a small self-address envelope included in AER package that you received. You may use that envelope and submit the required paperwork to the AQMD. You can also drop it off by AQMD headquarters finance office. What is new this year? Emission-free rate has been increased by the CPI. Also, this year, Phase 2 facilities are required to update their toxics inventory. We also updated, but it was only clarification only for cooling, 2 of the guidelines that we have on the AER program, which was cooling tower and organic bark loading. All these all these are described in detail in annual emission reporting website, which the link is specified in this slide. Few reminder, please remember if you are using any material that it contains toxic material, you have to report those and indicate that those materials are considered to be toxic. Also, please remember to mail in your paperwork after you submit your report electronically. One thing that I would like to mention is we have noticed that facilities, they finish with their report, but they forget to press the submit button. Why? Because if there are errors in your report, if these errors that is identified by red font are not being clear, the submit button is not available for you to use. So you have to clean up all of your errors, and then the submit button will be available for you to use and press it. Otherwise, regardless of if you send us or your paperwork, you pay your fees, but your report is not submitted electronically, still considered to be late. What are the paperwork that you need to submit? I have a specific slide for it, but these are signature sheet, data submittal confirmation, because when you submit, you get a confirmation back that your report was successfully completed and submitted, your emission fee summary form, and also other summary sheets such as your criteria summary sheet and your toxic summary sheet. Another reminder is for the past few years, we have online payment, but there is a specific procedure to use the online payment. I have a specific slide that I'm going to go through it in detail. Reporting process. Generally, please read the instruction. That's the first thing. If you are new to this program, this is the first thing you need to do. It is under help and support section of the AER website. You can go over there and read this. It has a lot of good information. It has information about how to log in, information about how to use the reporting tool. It has emission factor tables. It has example problems. We have a lot of many emission calculation guidelines for specific industries, such as how to calculate emissions from cooling tower, how to calculate emission from dairies and poultry operation, how to calculate emissions for plating operation. But there are a lot of examples too that it shows exactly a screenshot of what to do, what to enter in each screen of the tool. After you do that, then you have to have information about your facility, which I'm sure you do. Like facilities, look, certain information has been uploaded for you already. These are the information which is available in our database, such as facility name, facility ID number, your facility's location address, but there are other the field or information that we need for you to fill out, such as your mailing address, because these are subject to change, your contact information. These are the things that you have to actually give us those information, those data. Then after you provide all of the information regarding to your facility, another next thing to do is find out what type of a fuel you use for your equipment in your facility, not the fuel that you use in your cars or motor vehicles. These are the fuels that you burn in your IC engine, your boilers. When you do that, you are subjecting to the very short list of the type of fuel that you have to keep track throughout the report. It helps you a lot. After you do identify your combustion fuel, then this is the time that I'm hoping by that time you have all of the information that you need from other departments, such as if you are burning any fuel, how much material, how much fuel you have burned during that calendar year 2017. If you are using any coating material or organic material, how much of that have you used? And then other material that you need is how you're going to calculate your emissions. Do you have any source test which was completed at your facility that you want to use? Is there default factor that you want to use? Are those default factor available in the tool, or this is something that you get from AP42 EPA website somewhere? Or do you have all of your MSDSs if you're using any material to find out what type of a toxic material you're using, or how much VOC material contained in the material, how much VOC contains in the material that you're using? So those kind of things you already gathered. After you have all of those, then you are ready to put the data in, enter those data into the system. After you are done, review it, make sure it is correct. There are data validation from that the tool is going to help you to press it, but still these are give you erroneous errors, something which is so obvious. The tool is not smart enough to go and make sure, for example, you put the right emission factor out, unless it is completely out of range. That is going to come back and say that, oh, check it and see if it is correct. So you report all of processes and associated emissions, then you review your data, you make sure you upload all of your supporting documentation. The tool has capability of letting you upload supporting documentation for each supporting documentation of up to 5 megabyte. That's the only limitation we have. If you make sure you upload it, because a few years from now, if we audit your facility or we have question regarding certain operation that you did or certain information that you input to the system, you have the material in there. And then submit your report and fees and keep your copies for your record. Let me go through a couple of few frequently asked questions. What are the emissions that you should report? You should report emissions from both permitting and non-permitted operated equipment and operation. What emissions are exempt? You don't have to report. These are the emissions that you are not required to report. Emissions from on-road and off-road motor vehicles, such as cars, trucks, forklift, construction equipment, IC engine registered under state registration, portable equipment registration program, architectural coding material, but remember these are architectural coding that it's being used for beautifying your building, it's being used on the curb. If you're using any architectural coding for manufacturing process, you need to report the emissions from those, such as if you're a manufacturer, window shutter, or mobile home manufacturer. This is something that you do, is part of your operation, so you have to report your architectural coding material. Emissions from utility equipment such as lawnmowers are exempt, cleaner solvents are exempt. The emissions from non-portion combustion of charburetor and deep fat fryers operated by restaurants and eatery establishments directly serving customers. But those are exempt. But remember, like emissions from frying meats, those are exempt because they are being calculated as the area source category. You do not need to report those to us. However, the combustion portion of this has to be reported. If you are using fuels for these charburetors, you need to report the emission associated with the amount of fuel that you are burning. And exempt VOCs, such as acetone and ethanes, are exempt. But remember, if you have any exempt VOCs that they are considered to be toxics, those needs to be reported as toxics, not as VOC. You remember I was telling you, after you submit your report electronically, there are certain worksheets that you have to send us. This is an important, actually, slide that you have to keep in. Actually, remember to go through it before you submit. Use the self-address envelope that you got in your package and include all of these worksheets. Feed use summary sheet, toxic air contaminant and ozone depleting compounds emission summary fee, the summary sheet, online submitted confirmation. There is another criteria pollutants also summary sheet that you have to submit, online submittal confirmation, check if it is applicable, pay to AQMD, and facility status update. This is a form that if by any chance you want to tell me, for example, your facility emission suddenly has been decreased more than 50%, or your facility has been relocated, or your equipment has been removed, your facility has been shut down. Anything about your facility, as the name actually speaks for itself. It's a status update about your facility. This is a form to use to tell me what you did. Or sometimes there are alternative methods that you are using in calculating emissions from your certain operation or equipment. You can mention it over here that I use alternative methods, and for example, I'm submitted it as a supporting documentations. No, online payment. Do you remember I was telling you there is a specific procedure for you to follow? In order for finance to let you to pay, you have to tell us how much you owe us first. And we won't know until you complete your report. So when you complete your report, there is going to be, the tool is going to calculate how much fees you are supposed to pay. Make a copy of that, make a screenshot of that, and send it to the email address that says billingservices@aqmd.gov. And when you send a copy of that fee summary sheet to them, finance is going to create an invoice and let you know what is that invoice number. When you have that invoice number, then this is the time you can go online and make payment. That's easy. Then you're going to use that link that it says in this, specified in this slide, and go ahead and pay. Just follow the instructions. What are the supporting documentation you need? Anything that justify the amount of throughput that you put. Like for example, if you're using fuel usage and you say your annual throughput for your annual fuel usage is so many terms. I'm sure that you get it from your gas bills or somehow you know you have a meter that you're logging in. Make sure you have those supporting documentation and you upload those. If you're using any emission factor from AP42, make a copy of it and upload it. If you are using any source test material, you don't have to upload the complete source test, but I want you to upload the specific pages that tells me, for example, what was the source test number, what kind of operating parameters was during the source test, and what was the result. The rest, because these source tests usually are sent to our source testing group and being approved or disapproved, so we should have a record of them. As long as I have these few pages, I should follow it up and get the whole report if I need it. If you're using any SEMS data, if you're using any, all of your MSDSs, because these MSDSs is justifying the VOC content that you're using in your calculation. It tells us what type of toxic substances you have in your material. So those are important. Control efficiency. If you're using any control efficiency of, for example, 99.9, we want to know where you got that. If you're using 90%, 99.7%, anything that support the number that you are using in your calculation. If you are telling me that you reduce your emissions by so many percent, I want to know why and how. So sometimes it is manufacturer spec that tells you, sometimes it's source test. Anyway, anything that justify the number that you're using. Okay. How long you should keep your report? Minimum of 5 years. What are the program support? These days, everything is available for you online. If you need any information, it is online. It is available on the AER website. If you need emission factors, they are under help and support of in the AER website. If you need emission calculation guideline, for example, for printing operation, for a spray booth operation, you need example problem. All of them are available online for you. However, we have live, actually, you can call us. There are phone numbers that we put for you over there that you can use. And a person, one of the staff is gonna answer you. You don't have to leave messages unless we get so crowded that all of the phones are busy, then the phone line is gonna be routed to the answering machine. So we're gonna take the messages twice a day or 3 times, sometimes a day. It depends where in the reporting period we are. And then right away, we're gonna call you back. If you have any question regarding how to log in, first of all, they are available online. There are example. It takes you through exactly step by step how to register and how, if you have any problem, how to troubleshoot it. But you can call us and the staff, they're gonna take you through it. If you are AB 2588 facilities, but your question is not how to use the tool, how to estimate your emission. Your question is why you are in this program. You were exempt before. Suddenly why did they bring you back? We won't be able to answer you, but there is a specific hotline, which is a AB 2588 hotline. You can call them or send them an email at ab2588@aqmd.gov. AER reporting tool. I'm going to spend a short amount of time on this because I'm going to do the live demonstration. That way you have a better understanding how the tool is, but I'm going to go through it with you. First of all, this reporting tool is it's a device level reporting. What do I mean by that? Every emission source is a device. Like for example, if your facility has 10 permits, first of all, the program we are uploading those information for you. So all of your permits and application has been uploaded for you. So you know exactly what we have in our database are the ones that you see on your screen. So check it and see if those are correct, because sometimes facilities, they forget to go and update their information. They probably removed their equipment. They forgot to call back or call permit services to eliminate paying operating fees annually for that equipment. Sometimes they have equipment that somebody forgot to get permit for it. So there are a lot of possibilities. Check them. See if it is actually, it matches your records of the type of equipment that you should have. But at the same time, remember that your permit, every device is an emission source. However, every permit unit may be consisted of few devices. Why? Like for example, let's say you have a permit for a printing press. It says a printing press application number 1, permit number 2, a printing press system, but under that permit, there are 2 types of equipment. Your lithographic printing press, at the same time, the drying machine, the drying oven. So even though you have 1 permit's equipment, you have 2 devices. So every piece of equipment may consist of multiple devices. At the same time, every device may consist of multiple processes. What do I mean by that? Let's say you have a boiler or the dryer that I was mentioning as a device. This dryer is capable of burning 2 types of fuel, diesel fuel and natural gas. So you have 2 processes for this one equipment or one device to report. One of them is the emission resulted from burning natural gas. The other one, emission resulted from burning diesel fuel. So every permit may consist of multiple devices. Every device may consist of multiple processes. And as said, the permit profile is uploaded for your information already. There are 5 main section in the reporting tool. As I mentioned before, the first thing, these are facility information. Second thing is building reporting structure. By building reporting structure, I mean that you have to define your emission source. Like for example, if you have a boiler, you have to tell me this is external combustion, for example. If you have an IC engine, you're going to tell me you categorize them. You have to categorize them in a different group, and then you're going to start. Then another thing that you have to remember, you have to specify what type of a fuel you are burning in this equipment. So first, you're going to identify what type of fuel you are burning. Then you're going to identify each source, what category they are, and then you're going to start inputting the data for that piece of equipment. And you're going to start reviewing your data. You're going to do the data validation, and then you can submit. When I go to the live demonstration, actually, it's better. I can explain it better, and you can actually see it. What are the classification, the group of classification that I was telling you for each permitted equipment? You have to classify them in different groups. These are the classification. They could be external combustion, such as boilers, ovens, dryers, heaters, furnaces. It could be internal combustion, IC engines. It could be a spray booth, like in painting, you're painting in a spray booth operation. You may have used, it's not like you may use organic material, but you are not spraying it. This is other use of organic, like such as coating, printing, adhesive applications, so forth. Maybe storage tanks. There are storage tanks. Maybe they are that under the storage tank there are several categories, like such as service stations. These are gasoline service stations that you have in your facilities. They are category for that, a specific category for that. Fugitive component. These are only applicable to the facilities that they are subject to Rule 1173 and 1176. These are fugitive emissions. By that, I meant emissions from valves, flanges, connectors. If you cannot put them in any of these categories, there is other processes. You can categorize them under other processes. Now, there is another one, process offset. This is for facilities that they have a breakdown or something like your equipment broke for some reason and there are excess emissions that you need to report. You're going to specify that you have an offset emission to report. The actually data, it will become, the program is very user-friendly. It's just the way you collect the data, you can report it the same way. You identify the process, you enter the throughput, and select the pollutant and the emission factor. Very straightforward, and you will see it when I go through the live demonstration. Some of the important features of the tool, it is very user-friendly. As soon as you go in, it takes you from, it has a very easy navigation. It tells you, for example, step 1, step 2, step 3 from the middle of the screen, or there is a menu in the left-hand side that you can go from one at a time. It goes highlighted and you can go through it. So it's very easy to navigate through this program. You can search for your equipment if you have 200 equipment and permitted and you're looking for a specific one. There is a search program that you can put either by application number, emission source number. If you're a recurring facility, device ID numbers, you can search it and find it. The program has built-in calculators in it. There are certain processes and equipment that we put certain information for you, and if you select those, the program calculates the emissions for you. For example, for combustion equipment, if you decide to use the default factor, as soon as you say use default factor, the program is going to calculate all of the criteria pollutant at the same time for toxics is being calculated for you. If you're using printing operation, you have a printing operation, you have a printing press, and if you want a retention factor is built in. If you have a spray booth with a different type of a spray gun, you're looking for the transfer efficiency, the program, there is a built-in, you just select it, and the program is going to tell you what is the transfer efficiency associated with that type of a spray gun. So there are built-in calculator in the program. You can sort your emissions and devices however you want it. You can, at the same time, for storage tanks, we require you to use EPA tank program. For EPA tank program, people that they use prior tools or other tools, you know that you have to, if you have 100 tanks, you have to calculate all of them and then import it for this tool. No, you can do partial reporting. You finish one, you can import it. You finish 2, import it. You want to wait for all of them, you can do that. It adjusts for month-to-month input. If you have a month-to-month that you want to put input, it adjusts for that. It accommodates storage tanks that being like you, for different material being stored in the same storage tanks throughout the year. It also addresses if you have a material that it has VOC exempt compound, it excluded from total VOC calculation, but if it is toxics, it's going to put it under the toxics. There are a lot of features in this program. You can go through this that is actually explicit. Supporting documentation, you can upload your supporting documentation and it's going to be over there forever. You don't have to worry about it. There are a lot of fields that you're going to use for helping us to understand what you did or for your reference. These fields are not mandatory, but it is good to use. Like if you have anything you want to remind yourself later on what you did, these fields, use those fields for it. If you want to tell us anything, like you use alternative methods and you use this and that or engineering calculation to come up with it, you use those. You can tell us, and then it eliminate staff calling you, finding out what you did. It eliminates a lot of headaches later on. Or most of the time, I have a short memory. I forget what I did yesterday. But if I have those notes, it refreshes my memory. It brings it back to me. So it's good to have. Option for GSG, this tool was actually built the way it's being built. You can, if you're, it's optional, it's not going to be, we are not keeping those information in our database, but if you want to use, for you to know what is the footprint or of your greenhouse gas, you can accept that option that I want to calculate it, it calculates it for you. Conversion calculator, if you have your fuel usage in cubic feet or if you have it in terms, it converts it back to the unit that is being used in the program. And references for summaries. Now, I'm going to do the demonstration. I'm going to use the computer. I'm going to give you go through one example with you. But before I go, let me go through the slide for how to register, because that one, because of the firewall that we have, I cannot demonstrate it through the program. To do that, this is the AER home. As soon as you go to the tool, this is the first page that you're going to see. Yeah, as you see, it has a username, password. It says, if you're an existing facility, if you have already registered, you can just sign in. If you are not, you're going to go to the register now, register me now. If you click on that one, I'm going to go through it, but you will see that it brings you to the user registration form. It does have, it only have your contact information, nothing more, because we want to communicate back with you. So we want to know who you are, what is your email address, and your email address that you put over here is a way of communication or knowing that you registered into the system. One of the common questions that we get is you put your email address, but you don't remember what your email address you used, and suddenly you come back, you type something wrong, you don't know what to use. These are the things that you have to keep record of because if you register, you cannot come back to me and say that you want to change your email address. Anybody can register to this program. The only thing you cannot update or change is your email address. Am I correct? But you can update your registration profile. You can change your name, anything else you can, but your email address you cannot change. The only way you can change it, you register, re-register to change it. And then after you put all of those information, you just say save, and your registration is complete. This page is tell you, if you look at it, and I'm going to go through it too, it gives you your username. So keep this one, and your email address that you use. It doesn't tell you what your password is, but nobody knows. But you can always reset it if you forget. But it tells you, it gives you other information that you need. But another thing is you get, as soon as you register, you get an email back to the email address that you put under your registration, and it gives you a link. That link is valid only for 72 hours. You have to click on this link before you do anything else to activate your registration. This is activating your registration. So if today you don't have time, don't register. Just go and do your thing, because you have to sit down, get your email, go through this registration process and complete it. Otherwise, if you don't click on this, you forget to click on this link and 72 hours pass, then you have to call me back and I have to go through the system and activate your registration manually, which I don't want to do. If you forget your password, in the same page, it tells you I forgot my password. Like the regular web tool, you can just press it and it asks for your email address and you get your email. Actually, it lets you actually to change your password, reset your password. Okay, I think I'm going to go and start the tool. Okay. There is couple of way to get to the tool. First of all, there is a link that it is in your cover letter that we send you, that as soon as you type in, it's going to get you to the reporting tool, and you can actually start your registration. Let's say you don't have your cover letter and you forgot, that you can always go to the AQMD website. Okay. Under rule and compliance, you go to compliance. And you see in the left-hand side, it says annual emission reporting. You click on that one. This one takes you to the AER reporting website. This is our actually website. This is my program website. It tells you, it has a lot of good information, and I was telling you, it gives you the deadline. It tells you about the program. Then it tells you like whatever that I was telling you, what is new this year, about different workshop that we have. Every information that you need is over here. And you see here, it says AER reporting tool. If you click on that one, it's going to take you to the tool. At the same time, this AER demo is a one page. It is so useful. You just click on it. It tells you how to use the program, and it is only one page. We have demo also. You can go to the demo and use this one. It has a screenshot and everything, how to use the tool. Tutorial, help and support. Under help and support manual, there are a lot of good information that you can find. If I click on this one, you see here in the left-hand side, introduction. You click on it. AER is reporting tool features. Internet, what kind of internet you need. How do you navigate through the tool? Frequently asked questions. Greenhouse gas. How to get to the help and support. What to submit. Getting started. If you click it, it says new user registration. Existing user logging. Resetting password. It has a lot of instruction for you. So it has how do you complete your report. Summaries, criteria pollutant, toxic pollutant, total emission, other features of the tool. It has factors, emission factors. These are all of the things that you have available in your fingertip. So please use it. It's very good. So one way is just to go through this, and as soon as I click that, it gets you to the home page. This is a home page that you are in, and you can either, if you are an existing facility, that means you have used this tool before, you can sign in. Your username, password, as long as you remember it, you sign in. If you forgot, you just say, I forgot my password, or reset my password. Registration, as I told you, if you click on registration here, you have to another thing that I want you to know, all of the field that it has asterisk, they're mandatory. Make sure you fill it, otherwise you cannot. And then you're going to say, sign me up. And then it's going to get you sign up, that it's going to send you a link that it says you have to click on this link for but within the 72 hours. So follow the procedure. It's very straightforward. So I go back. Now, about this tool. So I already registered. I'm going to sign in. Let me tell you something about this tool. What you see on the top, you see the question mark? This is a help and support. You click in here, it's exactly the same way. You get to the same thing that I went before. This print, this is a printer. This print, it's a screen print. So every time you are on any screen and you want to get a screenshot of that, just print this one. It's a screen printing. Then AER Home, it takes you to the AER Home. Access Facility is the form that you're in. So when you register, and in the bottom, if you see the AQMD website, AER website, you can click on this and it's going to take you to those. This takes you to the AQMD website. This one takes you to the AER website. When you register, in order to access your facility, every facility, there is a unique PIN code associated with that facility ID number. So you should have that one available for you. This is the facility. It's the existing facility. As you see, when you come over here, it tells you what is your facility ID number, facility name, and location address. And then in the bottom, it tells you how many years of inventory have you completed already. You see, these are like, for example, in this facility, 2016, they haven't submitted it yet, but they did submit it in 2015 and 2014. If you are a new facility, that means this is the first time you're using this tool. Oh, by the way, may I see a show of hand? How many of you, this is the first time that you're reporting? Okay, not that many. Okay, great. So for some of you that this is your first time, you don't see these 2012 prior history years. You just see 2017. There is only 1 year that you can start reporting your emission. Other things that I have to remember to show you, like you see this arrow up, this is for uploading your inventory, your supporting documentation. If you press this one, you can browse it and find your file wherever you store it, and you can upload it. You remember it says 2 things that you have to remember. First of all, the description, it is good for you to describe what this supporting documentation is for. The other one that you have to remember is mandatory is a valid from, the date. You're reporting for calendar year 2017, so I'm assuming this would be valid until you do another source test, maybe next year, I don't know. The first field, which is valid from, is mandatory. You have to fill that one, and it tells you month, day, and year. Valid 2, this is something that if you want to put it, put it. If you don't want to put it, the tool is not going to give you any problem. So you're okay. So that was for upload. This is a printer. Print the screen that you are in. This is just a calculator. If you want to do any calculation, you just use this one. I'm going to go back to the access facilities. Every time you are on any of these screens, remember on the top, it tells you what you need to do and what is this screen for. Let's say, for example, over here, the first thing you want to do, you're going to click on open to open your report. Every worksheet on the top, there is a gray ribbon that it tells you what is that worksheet for. It has a ribbon on the top that gives you facility ID number and name of the facility and reporting year. What is this one good for? Some of you may be working on a couple of facilities, you're reporting several reports, and suddenly you may mix them up. This way it tells you at any point which one you're entering the data for, which one you're doing the report for. So the gray ribbon tells you what is this worksheet for. Click here to import last year. I'm going to do this one at the end, but if you are existing facility and you have information that you provided to us before, you have a prior year's information, if you click on this one, the program is going to import everything that you input except your throughput. And also, if you have any emissions from storage tanks, the information from storage tanks are not being imported because we are assuming that you're going to use EPA tank program, and those storage tanks are either the throughputs, emission value, everything has been changed, so you have to use the EPA tank again. So those information, so emissions from storage tanks are not being imported, throughputs are not imported, but everything else is being imported for you. So existing facility, the only thing you have to do, update your throughputs and update your emission factors. And if there is any new additional equipment or processes, you're going to add it in. If there are equipment or processes that is being removed, you update those information as well. Now, navigation, you remember I was telling you about that it is so easy to navigate through this program. You see in the middle, it tells you exactly, do you want to import last year? Step 1, facility information. Step 2, building instruction. Step 3, like it takes, it takes you through a step. At the same time, look at the left menu. It says facility information. You click on it, it takes you to facility information, and it brings up all of the things that you have to do under that facility information. Then it tells you building reporting structure, reporting process and emission, summary, data validation. You just go through step by step. I'm going to start from the left menu. I'm going to start with facility information. As I said, the ribbon on the top, the gray area, it tells you what is this worksheet for. The remaining is the information that you have to input. certain information has been uploaded and it's not, you cannot even make any changes. If you think any of this information is wrong, you have to call you have to call permit services and correct those, because I won't be able to make any changes of regarding these items. These are what the information coming from our database, AQMD database. Equipment location address, something that is being uploaded for you, we cannot change it. If the mailing address is the same as location address, the only thing you have to do, click this box, copy everything for you. Next, SIC code. If we had those available, we populate it for you. But there is a possibility that we make a mistake and these are not this SIC code and next code associated with your facility. For some of you that may have a question, what does SIC mean? What is next? Based on, these are the code that tells me what type of operation you have in your facilities. There are links next to these boxes. If you want to find out exactly what is your next code and what is the appropriate SIC code or next code, you click on this link and it takes you to a website that helps you to figure out if this is correct or do you want to select something else. But usually you find these information under your license, business license. Brief description of your operation. In this field, even though it is not mandatory, as I said, there is no asterisk, I would like to have what kind of a description, because sometimes based on the type of your equipment, I won't be able to say what kind of operation you have. And sometimes maybe the SIC and next code assigned to your facility are not accurate. So it is good to have a brief description of your operation. Industry type, there is a lookup table that takes you through it and you can pick anything you want. You can pick any of this that applies to you. For example, I can say I am furniture or furniture manufacturing. It's okay. Facility operating status. Most of the time you're going to select operating, but there are possibilities that you receive a notification letter, but your facility has been shut down. Your facility is temporarily shut down. So we want those to be, we make those available for you so you don't have to go through the hassle of reporting emission to us because your facility was permanently shut down. So as soon as you press this, your report is done, completed. So I'm going to say operating. There are check boxes right here that if you want, you remember I was telling you this program give you the ability to know what is the footprint about your footprint of greenhouse gas for your facility. If you click here, it's gonna ask you for certain other information. You're gonna click OK, and it gives you other information that you have to give you, like ARB ID number, are you generating electricity, some other things that you have to provide to me. You can uncheck it. Check here if your facility produces electricity. Check here if your facility reporting any fugitive emission from fugitive components such as valves, flanges. These are if your facility is subject to Rule 1173 and or 1176, you're subject to this. Otherwise, you're not. So you shouldn't be worried about it. If you are a small business and you want to actually take advantage of fee exemption, you click on this one. And every time you click on this, there are certain information we are asked you to provide to us. If you check this box, if you have non-routine operation, upset or breakdown, you check on this one if you're reporting that. You remember main contact? These are mandatory fields, so you have to fill it. I'm going to fill some of them, but leave some of them blank. So you will see when I do the validation, the program is going to come back and tells me that you did not do this. Preparer, if you are the same preparer, you click here. If you are not, you just type the number of, like the name, add last name, title, telephone number, like the person who did it, the information about the person who did it. If it is the same, the only thing you have to do, click here. If you're the authorized, we need a facility representative confirm that the information that you're submitting is accurate and correct. So if that authorized facility representative is different than the main contact information that you have on this, you have to fill out this section as well. Otherwise, you just say same as the contact information. Operating hours for your facility, let's say 24 hours per day. 5 days per week and 52 weeks or 50 weeks per year. Either you can go next or you can save it. I'm going to go next. It does the same thing. It's going to save for you, and it goes to the next. You see, I finish with addresses, other information, contact information, operating schedule, status update. You remember I was telling you, if you have anything you want to tell me about your facility, this is a place to do it. If your facility is shut down, you click here, but you have to tell me when it was shut down. If your facility went through the change of ownership, you got to tell me, and it's going to ask, you're going to tell me what is the new facility ID number and what was yours. If your emissions are 0 for this year or reduced by 50%, you're going to tell me, explain to me why. So you click this and explain. If your facility's emissions are below the reporting threshold and you want to request exemption, you can click this box for me. But let me tell you what is the policy that we are practicing. You have to give me 3 consecutive years of emissions below the reporting threshold before I'll be able to grant you exemption. So after 3 years consecutive reporting and you're below the reporting threshold, when it was verified, if you click this box, I can exempt your facility for 3 years. So for 3 years, you will be exempt and you're not required to do your annual emission report. Use alternative calculation methodology, you click here. Any other things that you want to tell me, click here. I'm going to say next. It's going to take me to building reporting structure. You remember, as I said before, the first thing you want to do, you want to say what type of fuel you use in your facility. Why? Because if I go, look at this, add new fuel. The lookup table is a big lookup table. You don't want to, every time you want to go to any of your equipment, combustion equipment, to be able to go and look at this long list. In my facility, I'm using natural gas. I'm going to say save. And then I also use diesel fuel or gasoline. I'm going to say I'm using diesel fuel number 2. So I'm going to say save again. So it's going to save me. So these are the only type of fuel that I'm using in my facility. So these, for any combustion equipment that I'm reporting the emissions for, the only thing I'm going to see these 2 type of fuel that I have to select. Now, after you do that, you can go next. You can even press here, emission source, but I'm going to say next. It's bringing me to emission source. My facility has only 2 equipment, but remember, you are required by Rule 301 to report emissions from permitted and non-permitted operation and equipment. The program upload only the permitted equipment information. It's whatever we have in our database, I upload it for you. But I would not know anything about non-permitted equipment and operation in your facility. You may have some 219 exempt equipment. You may have some operation that is a cleanup operation which is exempt under Reg 2, but I wouldn't know. This is the time that you have to add new sources. Like for example, if I want to I'm gonna add, I have a spray booth, but they forgot, like in the AQMD database, that spray booth was not there. Probably we forgot to get a permit, or our permit was expired and we didn't know about it. So I'm going to add it. I'm going to say this is the permitted equipment. What is the permit number? Application number was, I'm going to say 3333, A3333. If it was a reclaim, there was a device ID number and everything associated with that. But what is the ES name? I can say this is my spray booth number 1. And then emission status, there are a couple of categories that you have, like it's a normal operation, not generating emission, fugitive component, not in operation, shut down or remove duplicate. I'm going to go through it with other programs. Let me just go through adding. I'm going to say normal operation. This is something that I always use. I'm using all the time. I'm going to say save. Status here. Okay. Now I have 3 equipment now. So if you have non-permitted sources, you have to add it over here. Like for example, your 219 exempt equipment. You just add it. You just go through it and you get you just get the permit description and everything. Okay. Now, let me go through data entry. These are the search. If I want to search, let's say I have few pages of permit equipment and I'm searching for application number 1020. I can type over here and then I'm going to search it. It's going to find it for me. You see here, application number. You have another search engine over here too, based on application number, device ID, permit number, permit device ID number. So how to use the tool? When you get to this one, you see in the left-hand side, it says open. That's the first thing you do. You open it up. Let me do combustion equipment. I opened it up. This was already uploaded for me. It has application number, permit number. It gives me equipment description. It has everything that I need. I'm going to say operating, normal operation. Why we are doing this? Okay, let me go through that now. I uploaded equipment that it doesn't generate emissions. Like for example, you have a plating tank. You have a scrubber that this scrubber is controlling emissions from your plating line. But the scrubber itself, it doesn't generate emissions. You have two choices. Either say that this not generating emissions and put in a comment area what you meant by this. Or I can even say some facility I have seen that they are saying that this is duplicate. Like you are reporting emission most of the time under the basic equipment. Like if the emissions are coming from your plating line, you are reporting emission under the plating operation. You are not reporting emission under the scrubber. Some people I've seen they use duplicate for this. The duplicate also used for facilities that they have somehow two devices that there is being repeated. If you ask me why it was reported twice, I don't know. But if you have such a case, you can say this is a duplicate. Because we have seen some operators and some facilities that they have called us. We never duplicate anything. We couldn't duplicate what they did, but somehow they have the same process and equipment twice. If your equipment is shut down and removed, but we didn't know about it, you can click on this one. Not in operation, maybe you have equipment that you are using it only for certain like abrasive blasting equipment, but in 2017, you never used it. So you said not in operation. There is a fugitive component. If you are subject to Rule 1173 and 1176, and you are reporting valve emission from valves, flanges, you click on this one so we know these are valves and flanges. Okay, so I'm going to say this is a normal operation. Then in the comment area, you can put anything that it references that boiler for you, like for example, boiler in the maintenance room or something, however that helps you to remember it. Then you have to categorize it. You remember I was telling you have about 7 categories? These are the 7 categories that you have to categorize your equipment into. For me, this is the external combustion because it was a boiler. I click here. It gives you several options. Mine was a less than 10 million BTU. I'm going to check mark over here, and I'm going to say save. So I categorize it. Now I have 2 options. Either I have all of the information for my sources, and I would like to continue and report the throughput, put the throughput, emission factor, emission, and do the calculation, complete emission reporting for this source, or I want to go back to my emission source and categorize them. So if I want to go back to my emission and categorize the other one, which was a printer, or the other one, which was a spray boot, I'm going to say save and return to the list of emission source. But in my case, no, I want to save and proceed. I want to proceed with emission reporting. So it brings me back to the process reference worksheet. It tells me about application number, permit description. What is this number over here is being generated by the program. For every equipment that I upload, the program assign emission source number. This is for our references. It's being used by us. It has no meaning to you, but this is another way of knowing that what is this application number and associated AER device ID. It tells you the source category that I select, which was external combustion. I selected less than 10 million BTU, and it has all of this information. And if you remember, I've told you for every emission source, there is going to be one process generated by the program. This is process that is generated automatically by the program. I'm going to open it up and report my emissions. It takes me to, I call this calculation sheet. See, again, it says step 1, step 2. It takes you through it. It's so user-friendly. And in the top, in the gray area, it tells you what is this worksheet for. So for the process, I have, for each one of them, you're going to open it up and put the information. Process name. I'm going to say boiler. I'm going to say natural gas fire. Okay? And process comment is up to you what you want to put. You remember I was telling you when you select the fuel, you're only see 2 or 3 or 1. I select only 2 types of fuel in my facility and I see only 2 of them. I select natural gas. What is the rule number? 1146. And then I'm going to say save. So it says default TAC emission factor have been assigned for this combustion equipment. Step 2, it tells me what is your throughput. Let's say I get my natural gas in terms and I use 100,000 terms in 2007 in my facility, but my emission, the unit that I'm using is in terms, and I'm going to say save. You remember I was telling you the program has a built-in calculator. It calculates the 100,000 terms that I put in 2 different type of factors, million cubic feet and cubic feet. Why these 2? Because all of my default factor for these boilers are in pounds per million cubic feet. And if your facility chooses to calculate the GHG footprint for their facilities, the emission factors are in pounds per standard cubic feet. That's why the program converted back to this common unit that we use for default factor. Now, step 3. What the program is asking me if I want to use default emission factors. Most of the facilities, they have their own specific factor, but usually if a facility do not do a source test for all of the pollutant, they may use they do a source test for NOx emissions. Maybe you do the source test for SOx. So this works for me, but I don't know about you, but you can try it. I always use default emission factor. So it calculates my toxics and criteria pollutant, but I go back because my facility always does a source test, and the source test only measures the NOx emissions. So I open the NOx emissions. I say, oh, I don't want to use this default factor. My emission factor is not 100 pounds per million cubic feet. Mine is 30 pounds per million cubic feet. And then, but the program is asking you, where did you get this? I'm going to say source test. And then I'm going to say save. Now, when you come over here, you see over here, it says all the other pollutant, you use the AQMD default factor, but for this one, you use source test. You can do fit any of these pollutant you want. If all of them are being actually source test, but you didn't do any source testing for toxics, I still do the same thing. Select default emission factor, change all of this by my toxic. I don't have to do each one of them separately. Now, I'm going to go back to the emission source process reference. Why? Because in this boiler last year in 2017, I burned some the diesel fuel too. So I'm going to say add process name, I'm going to say diesel. Okay. Step 1, I'm going to open the process. I'm going to say I use diesel fuel number 2. I'm going to say rule 1146. I'm going to save it. It tells me the toxics is being calculated for me. Come to the throughput. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to say I use 1,000 gallons. The program select the unit that I select. Save it. But remember, the program has a built-in calculator. My emission factors are per pounds per 1,000 gallons. So it calculated and converted the 1,000 gallons back to 1,000 gallons. And then I'm going to say default emission factor. It calculates all of the emission factor and toxics for me. At any time during this process, I can go and look at my summary to see what I have done up to now. How much is my criteria pollutant? It tells me you reported this much. Did I report any non-permitted? No, I haven't input actually any non-permitted. Let's see, if I click on this, let's see what it tells me where this amount coming from. It tells me it is from ES2, which was a boiler, and it comes from process number 1 and process number 2. This much from process number 1 and this much process number 2. The only thing you have to remember, these are in pounds, but when you go to the summary, it gives you tons of emissions. The same thing for NOx. You go look at your toxic emission. What did you report? Oh, I reported these toxic emission. Where are they coming from? Exactly the same thing. It does it for this, and these are in pounds. But remember, for toxic emission, everything is in pounds, reported in pounds. So that's the only difference. How much fee up to now I have to pay? It brings you down over here. It tells me that up to now, I don't have to pay anything. And then data validation. At any point of your report, you can just run the data validation as many times as you want. I click, it's going to give me that, oh, you have a reported ES1, but there was a emission source operating status. You didn't put this, so that's the field. If I click on this, it tells me that I haven't, but I haven't selected this one yet. I haven't gone to selection of this. Let me go back to the ones that I did. Facility information, I completed this one. If you remember, we went through it. It tells me, oh, you forgot to put your email address. It also, let's see, other field that it was mandatory that I didn't fill. I think I did them all. I'm going to say save. Let's run it again, but I saw a couple of errors, so we'll see. No, all of the error regarding the facility information is gone, but this is another one, but I haven't defined this one yet. Of course, I have to go and finish it. So if I go back to the emission source, I can complete the other equipment and look at this one, and this one is complete. I can open the other one and continue. But let me go to other tool, like a program that they are available for you. So you saw the data validation, print facility report. You can print at any time. You can print all report. You can print only signature sheet and status update, worksheet overview, like external combustion criteria. These are summary worksheet that you can put them all or any individual one and say print. Excel report. This is a report that if you download it, it is good for doing if you want to do QA, QC, because it gives you any of the data that you entered. It gives you every detail about all of the fields that you entered into the system. And you can do, if you are good in Excel, you can use pivot, VLOOKUP, do a lot of program that is available to you to do your QA, QC. After you're done with that, you just report submission. You see here, it says that you have one error. Before, if I don't clear all of the red warning and errors that I have, I cannot see the submit button. After I clear everything, it's going to make the submit button available for me. And remember that you have to, when the submit button is available, you have to press it to electronically submit and get the confirmation back. Otherwise, your report has not been, even though you completed it, it's not being submitted yet. You may see some other warning. If it is not red and it is some kind of a brownish color, those are warning. It's not going to stop you from submitting your submit button. You will see the submit button. And it's only the errors that they are in red. You have to take care of them before submitting. I'm done with the demonstration, unless if I can do one more, if anybody interested for the spray boot operation, for example. Yes. Oh, import, I will do that. Let me just see if are you guys interested for me to do another spray boot or something, or you're confident? Okay, I'm going to do spray boot. And then I'm going to use the import. Emission source. This is a spray boot operation that I added in. Pardon me? Oh, no. Oh, yes. normal operation. I put not in operation, actually I put not generating emission, but this is normal operation. And I'm gonna save and proceed. It brings me back. Oh, yes. I open it up. After I put normal operation, I have to categorize emission source. What kind of a source is it? It is, I click here because it's the spraying operation. I'm gonna say it's a spray boot, and I'm gonna go save. After I do that, I'm gonna say save and proceed. It brings me back to the process reference. As I did before, I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna say, okay, let's, step one, process. Okay, process comment, you can put process name, spray boot 1. This is a spray boot. I'm gonna do coding. There are, and I'm gonna say this is a flat boot. I'm using HVLP application as a spray gun. Type of a material, I'm gonna say coding. Material description, let's say primer. One. Then I'm going to say add rule. Rule 1136. Save. So my first step 1 is completed. Step 2, you have to know how many gallons of coating you're spraying in that spray boot. Let's say maybe most of the facility they are using different type of coating material. Remember, if you are spraying different kind of a material, for each one you should create a specific process. Why? Because every coating is different. The material safety data sheet tells you what the percentage of VOCs are different. There are different toxic compounds contained in different material of coating material. So that's why you have to create different processes for each type of coating that you do. Annual usage, let's say I did 100 gallons, I sprayed 100 gallons. I'm gonna save. Then step 3, I have to see, first I'm gonna calculate my VOC emissions. What is the emission factor? Let's say I look at my MSDS and my MSDS said it's 2.6 pounds per gallon of VOC. Overall control efficiency, you don't, in the spray boot, you don't control your VOC emissions. It only controls particulate matter. You said it's asking me, where did you get this emission factor? I'm going to say from my material safety data sheet, and then I'm going to say save. So I calculated my VOC emission. I'm going to add another one, which is my PM emissions. You see, there are solid content, transfer efficiency, emission factor. These are something that the program has a built-in calculator for you if you want to select it. Like the program, we selected 3 pounds per gallon of solid. You have something different, uncheck it, and then you are capable of changing these numbers. The transfer efficiency, I already told the tool that I'm using HVLP. So if I say use default, it's going to actually bring up the transfer efficiency for that HVLP gun that I'm using, and emission factor is populate the default emission factor for me if I click on this one for the control efficiency. Now, let's say your spray boot has a high efficiency. This is more this 90% is the conventional control efficiency for the spray boot, but mine is HEPA, and I unclick this one and put 0.997%. And then they say, where did you get this? I can say source test, I can say manufacturing spec, anything that applies to this. And I'm going to say save. So I reported my PM emissions. Now you have to report your toxics. Let's say in the primer that I use, I have hexavalent chromium. I select the toxic material. I say solid content. Let's say it is 30%, 30 pounds per, or 30 pounds per gallon is, that's too much. 10 pounds per gallon is solid content. Emission factor is based on the hexavalent chromium is being calculated for me. You want to use default emission factor is conventional, but if I have HEPA filter, I'm going to use, which I said before, I'm going to unclick it and put 0.997. Where do I get this? Did I get it from my MSDSs? And I'm going to say save. An error has occurred while communicating with the server, cannot. And
put solid content, not percentage of X chrom is way too big.
oh, that's why?
Yep.
1%?
Solid content.
Oh, solid content. Save. No, but it was. Doesn't save it. It says the server is down.
Maybe the server now, if it doesn't want to save it.
Transfer efficiency. Yeah, that's correct. Transfer efficiency.
It still would save it without that. Might be a server. I have a
It doesn't save, but I can, let me cancel it. No, it doesn't, actually it blocks me right now. I'm blocked.
Close it for a second. Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
No, let's do it again.
I'm gonna do it again. Hopefully, you don't occur the same problem. It doesn't happen to you. It was just me. 1% default. Yeah, it was me. Okay, anyway, and this is a spray boot. Now I'm gonna take you, this is gonna be the time to take your questions, but if at any point you want me to go back and repeat something, if you need to use, or if you have any specific question, remember, we have computer in front that you can stay after the meeting, we can go over there and show it to you personally. Let's go back and take your questions.
You made the point of adding a different process for each component.
That's correct.
Things. So you have from last year, let's say 3 or 4 of them.
Oh, I forgot to do importing last year. I'm gonna, after your question, I'm gonna do one more that I forgot, one more function of the tool that I forgot to do. Okay.
You want me to wait then, or?
No, go ahead.
So let's say you only use 2 of those. On that third one, would you put a 0 throughput, or would you delete that?
You are the one adding it, right?
No, I'm not adding. Let's say last year I transferred over, I used 5 different components.
Oh, you delete it.
5, you would delete it? So
Yeah, there's
you
a
don't
delete
put 0
function.
throughput?
No. You delete that because it doesn't apply anymore.
Okay.
If last year you reported 3 processes, let's say in boiler, in IC engine, you use natural gas, you use gasoline, and you use diesel. This is a prior year, like in 2016. In 2017, you only use gasoline and natural gas. For the gasoline, for the diesel, you just delete that process. It gives you an option of deleting.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
If you used it in previous year, you didn't this year, but you know that you might use the year later, then put 0 throughput. If you know you will not use it for good, then you delete it, because that way it will import into next year when he can add the throughput.
No, I have problem with that.
Oh,
No.
you do?
No.
I'm sorry.
I rather for you to add it in, because I'm sure that when you select your list of fuel that you're using, you go through your everything. These information are being submitted to ARB. When we are sending this information through the CDERs, all of these 0 throughput is giving me a hard time. So I have to go back and clean them up and say that, okay, this 0 throughput does not exist. So don't do it. Remember, if you are changing your process and operation, you should remember to update your inventory every year.
Okay.
Okay?
I have a
So-
second question.
Yeah, go.
Going to your point about transferring in, let's say it's a process that so 219 equipment, I didn't use a compressor, so if I say not operating this year, it says I'm going to wipe out you get a message that says I'm going to wipe out all your data. So do I put zero throughput in that so it'll at least carry it over for next year? Delete that process and then next year put it back in.
If you put 0 for that, it may work for you for next year, but it creates problem for me because I have to clean it.
Hey, I only care about me.
No, you should. Do whatever is convenient for you. I do the cleanup. Whatever makes it easier for you, continue doing it, and then I'll clean up later. Okay? Let me do one more function for existing facilities that I forgot to do. And the reason for that is when you go to facilities that you already reported prior years, the first thing you're going to do when you get to the AER facility home, there is an import function that you click, and I want to show you that it brings everything that it was submitted before. Do you mind to go ahead and do it? So in the meanwhile, why don't we take another questions while Natasha is going to go through that, so we don't wait.
Okay, our facility is still under permit to construct, so we're not operational yet. We just built our facility. We're having some equipment issues. We did receive this letter, and so I'm here trying to figure out how
Okay.
we best fill it out. But if we're under permit to construct and we're not operating normally, and we're down more than we're up, do we still fall under the criteria?
You still, since you get your notification, you have to file. But let me go back, clarify, to understand actually your situation so I can give you the right answer.
Okay.
Your question is, this equipment, if the equipment is under construction, that means, to my assumption, hasn't been used in 2017. Still, it is under construction. Okay. So that equipment, you just say, is not generating any emissions. Okay. For that, because it hasn't been in operation. It's not in operation.
Okay.
Then there is going to be another question is, yes, you are under permit to construct, but you have a class 3 type of application. What is class 3? For some of you that don't know, sometimes we due to the lack of resources, facilities, they are coming for a permit to construct, but more than 6 months passed, engineer hasn't got back to the facility or hasn't got enough information to process the permit. So we changed the classification of that category from class 1 to class 3, so facility can start using it. So you may still, your application may be open, you don't have a permit to operate, but you have a temporary permit to operate, basically because you're class 3. It doesn't matter if you have a permit, you have to, even if it was operated for 2 months, 3 months, you have to report the emission associated with that in 2017. Are you ready? Oh, she needs it.
Hi. So first year within a system, it does require some setup, and this is what Mr. Kashimi went through step by step. But what's the beauty of it? Once you set it up, and it doesn't matter if you have a last year file or 3 year ago file, as long as you have a data in the system, when you come in and you click on Facility Home, you just click on Import Last Year. Then you will get this feedback that it has been done, and then if your operation did not change, if nothing changed, you just have to update facility operating status and throughput. Basically, how much materials did you use? So then here, you just have to update facility operating status to confirm that you're operating. And then, you can click on Next, just to check if anything needs changes, like if you added a new fuel or control or you changed something, you might need to update. Do you have anything for status update? If not, a fuel's still okay. A source is still okay. Do they look good? And if they do, you just open the process. So it's external combustion. That was illustrated before, and you just add the throughput. And you're done. Okay. So you just go through every process and update.
Thank you, Natasha.
If I want, does the program allow me to change the application number to the newest one?
No.
We
But
do
you
have existing application numbers all 2-3 years. We modify the plating lines. So we got superseded application with application.
added in, added as a new one. It tells you what is the application number. You put the application. You remember the spray boot that I
Yeah.
did? And then you can say the other one was removed.
So I cannot remove it, but it's going to stay in the system. Then later you can remove it, right?
No,
Delete it, I mean.
no. You can. You have an option of saying no. They can.
It was uploaded on the permit profile, the user cannot remove it, but they can say duplicate. That was the purpose of duplicate.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
So-
If you are a new facility, let's say you are a new facility.
No, I'm not new.
Okay, you're an existing facility. If you're an existing facility, that equipment is already uploaded for you. So you cannot delete it. She's correct. You cannot delete it, but you can say this is duplicate.
Duplicate, but I'm going to put the new application.
New application and report the emission under the new one.
Okay. I received notification from the district, doesn't mention anything about AB 2588, only regular AER.
That means you're not subject to that program.
Okay, so the last question, this is about a few years back, my threshold is below reporting, so, but sometimes I get notifications, sometimes I don't get. So can I request exemption for 3 years for next year, or how's the procedure?
Okay, let me explain to actually everybody about why they are in the program sometimes and what they are not. Mailing list is being created electronically. There is established criteria that we use, and the program is generating that mailing list for us based on the information which is in our database, AQMD database, and based on the information that you guys are submitting to us. Now, there is a possibility that somehow some of you guys, some facilities go through the cracks and they don't being on the list, but they should have been. There is another possibility that there are facilities that they believe that their potential to emit is below the reporting threshold. However, the program that we have, the information which is in database, they are telling me the potential to emit for your facility is above. In this case, the cases that the database tells me your emissions is above the reporting threshold, but your actual facility emissions are below the reporting threshold. I have to have 3 consecutive years of emissions. I have to verify those are accurate, and then I can give you exemption for 3 years.
It is consecutive years, or it has to be
Like, for example, no. Like, for example, you have to have 2014, 15, 16 to be exempt for 2017.
Okay.
If you are, let's say you have 2015, 2016, you report on 2017 as well, and then you get the exemption for 2018 and after.
So that is, we can request it in the...
You always can
program?
request exemption.
In the program? We
Yes,
request?
you can always request exemption. But the problem is it going to be granted? And I told you the policy that we have, what is acceptable exemption, approvable exemption. Sure.
Ali, how are you going to be exempted? What you need to do? Call to AQMD or apply to the same system?
You go through the same system. You just say exemption requested.
It's
You
on the
click that
board.
mark. You check
On the screen.
I know. And another question, if you're going to get exempt, you still need to record your daily usage of material?
You're going to do what?
Daily usage of material?
Keeping records is mandatory.
Oh,
It's
I
a
see.
record keeping requirement required by Rule 109. You can't get away from, for example, record keeping. However, these records is helping you in case if I come back some other years and say, no, you should have more than this, or inspector comes to your facility, what you're gonna do? They're gonna ask you how much paint you're spraying. You have to show them your records. It has nothing to do with the annual emission. I mean, annual emission reporting, you are telling me how much your emission was during that specific year, and for that, if I need it, you're gonna provide me supporting documentation.
Thank you.
Don?
Hi. So if you're an AB 2588 facility, how do you report the 177 toxics? Is it from the toxic drop-down?
Okay, for certain actually equipment and processes, like for example, combustion equipment, you're exposed. You remember that I showed you, like when I said default factor, it gives you a short toxic list. You're going to be exposed to a longer list. There is a lookup table that you will see, but it is not for every piece of equipment. There is if you were an AB 2588 facility and you were a phase 2, you received an attachment which says table 2. It lists all of the toxics that it is reportable, and you have to report the emission and update your inventory.
Okay, so it'll be an attachment in the report or the actual attachment as a letter?
No, with the cover letter that you received. Okay. However, whenever you want to add any toxics pollutant, you have a long list.
Yeah.
Natasha is going to show you right now.
Yeah, for like coatings and stuff.
Yeah.
Have to.
Let's put it this way. If you are an AB 2588 facility and your update is required for this year, like for your phase 2, every time you want to add any toxics or report any emissions of toxics, the program is going to bring a lookup table, which is a long list of toxics that you have to see which one you have and select. Okay. If you are not AB 2588, it's only, you will see only 24 toxics and ozone depleting compound. And this is the longest.
Okay. So that's a longer list. Okay.
And the program actually is smart enough to realize it, and it's going to let you use the lookup table that it is the long list, not the short list.
Okay. And then also, since we're AB 2588,
yes,
there's also an extra section about distance for work receptors.
Exactly. There are additional information if you're AB 2588 that you have to fill, like receptors, residential and commercial receptors.
Okay, and then there's an add button, right, in order to add more, because we're the harbor department, so we have a very weird fence line. Because, we don't really have addresses, so all of our equipment was put under one address. But so I wasn't sure, do I have to do it for every permitted piece of equipment, or do I do it per fence line?
This is what I would do. Mm-hmm. Usually, when it says the receptor distance is considered to be from the fence line. So, you may have in your facility different department. I'm assuming all of these department is under your operational control. If it is, I'm not looking for inside your facility. I'm looking for the first residence which is closest to your facility. I'm looking for the first business which is not under your operational control and distance from that. Now, where do you get that distance? From the fence line or from the equipment? This is something that you have to check with AB 2588 group team. I would personally put it based on the like a center of my facility. Some people may choose their fence line because their equipment, some of them, they are next to the fence line. So I wouldn't be able to do, but you have to be realistic. If your equipment, you have a big yard and your equipment is next to the fence, I would use the distance from that equipment that emits and start going to the first residential and commercial. If you have equipment which is in the middle of the facilities and your facility is a very large facilities, if you put a fence line and suddenly somebody is next to you, it doesn't make sense. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to ask them specifically because our facility, our fence line because we are the entire port of Los Angeles.
Oh, so you need to talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to talk to them. Port is different. I think no.
If multiple people are responsible for the AER for different portions of it, and we all have our own sign-in, will we all see the changes each of us make in that one facility?
The person, okay. You have to be very careful if you have several people working with the tool. You can assign different equipment and processes and say that this is yours, this is the X, this is Y person. That way, you never ever interfere with each other's work. Whoever make the changes last, that's being saved. Like, if you're working on, let's say, device number 1 through 10, and suddenly S come back by mistake, make changes on device number 9, and he's the last one, that last changes is going to be saved. So it depends how you're going to control that. I wouldn't suggest it, but if you have different process, like for example, I would assign a storage tank to somebody, and I would do, for example, all of the combustion sources. I would categorize them, and I'm going to say, first categorize all of your sources and say, you're responsible for all of the emissions, reporting emission from the storage tanks. I'm going to do all of the combustion, for example. Then you don't interfere with each other's.
And then
Work.
just one more question. I just wanted to make sure I understood right when it comes to architectural coatings, like painting buildings.
Yes.
That has to be included, or is that excluded?
Okay. If you're painting your building because it hasn't been painted for 4 years, 5 years, and suddenly it requires paint, that's some kind of a maintenance type of things. This is for beautifying your building. You are not reporting your architectural coating used for painting your building. No.
Okay.
But if you're painting something that is annually supposed to be painted, it's part of your operation, then you report it. Any other question?
So going back to her question about having different people, do they all have to sign in with the same PIN number, or do they have their own user and PIN?
Good question.
And passcode?
Everybody can register to the system, like they have their username and password, different, because everybody can register. But only the people that they have the facility ID number and PIN code can access the facility information. So if multiple people are going to start using the tool and reporting for one facility, all those people, they're going to have access to the facility ID number and PIN number, because the PIN number is unique to every facility.
Okay.
I think there's a question in the back.
I'm with the city of Los Angeles, not the harbor, but the rest of the city, or most of the city. We've had a different group submitting our reports in the past, but they're no longer doing that, so we're taking that over. So I'm not really familiar with the process. It's very new to me. We have many facilities, but in the past, they've only reported on the ones that they received a letter from.
Yes.
And so I have a stack of letters that I've received, but I don't know if I've received all of them. Is there a way of checking that in your system to make sure?
Of course.
And also, in terms of the PIN numbers, is that a part of the letter?
It is. The PIN number is in all of those cover letters. But let's say you have 20 facilities, you got 20 letters, cover letters, which has the facility ID number and PIN code on every one of them. But you have 30 facilities, you don't know if the other 10, where they received the notification, maybe somebody lost the notification. The only thing you have to do, have the facility ID number available, call us the hotline at the hotline number, 909-396-3660. A live person is going to answer you. You just give them the facility ID number. They're going to go through it with you and say that this was not included in mailing list. Yes, this, you should have received the notification letter for this. We have the PIN code. We can give it to you. We can even send you a copy of those letters that you're missing, if any.
Okay. Now, in terms of, we have hundreds of facilities.
Yeah.
But we only get maybe a dozen or so letters, maybe 20.
I understand.
And so would I need to do that for the other 80 facilities, or I'm trying to get an idea of what we need to do?
I don't think you're going to have 100 facility and you're going to get, for example, 100 notification letter. I think if you have the, like, City of Los Angeles, let's say, if all of them start with City of Los Angeles, we can search it by the name and see how many City of Los Angeles we have. And if you have the facility ID number, we can check. Or I'm sure that when you have a list of 100 facilities, because you said that you have so many, there is a list with facility ID number, right?
Yes.
Okay, give me that list in an Excel format. I do the VLOOKUP for you, and I say yeah or no.
Perfect.
You
And
don't
your
have-
emails and the documentation?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Would you speak in the microphone because it's being taped and also webcast? Yeah.
I've got a facility with 6 engines.
Yes.
And 6 permits. So I put in each engine in that facility, and then the throughput, is that for all of them, or is that for
Okay.
the
Are those
fuel, or?
okay? Are those engines similar?
Yes, they're exactly
Everything.
the same.
They use the same type of fuel?
Yes, but different times. Some of them have run 2,000 hours, some 3,000 hours.
Individual reporting then. I know, but they are using, it's not the same that they are operating it. They are operating like the fuel usage. Okay, I tell you what, even though it's different hours, so that means you use different amount of fuel for each one, right?
Right, but
Do
I
you
don't
have a
necessarily
meter for
know
that?
how much fuel per engine. I just know the total hours, or
It doesn't
the
matter, you
hours
can
per
prorate
engine.
it. Like if you know, for example, you use 1,000 gallons total for the facility. You have 6 engines, but one of them used 1,000 hours, the other one 3,000 hours.
Okay.
You can use a ratio and prorate it, right?
Okay.
We have, actually, this is one of the ability of the tool for the similar operation and equipment, exactly similar, same type of fuel, same rating capacity. We can show you what to do that you report for one, you basically using that one as, let's cut and, you know how cut and paste in Microsoft Word? You basically pasting the same information but with different throughput for others. So you don't have to repeat it for 6.
All right.
Okay? After the workshop, stop by, I'll show you how to do it.
Okay, and then there's that button where you can download the data from the previous year. Can you download from 2 years previous? Because last year I wasn't required to do that.
Okay, if you were not required to do last year, but you were required, for example, to do in 2015, you're still reporting it from 2015. The program, I think it goes to the latest year and bring whatever you have in the latest year that you report.
Okay.
So it could be 2014, 15, or 16.
Cool.
Any other question? All right. Thank you for coming. Before you guys leave, I would like to urge you, please, I'm actually begging you to go and continue start working on your report. The reason for that is most of you guys wait until the last minute. We have only limited resources. Suddenly, March is coming around, it's around the corner. Everybody calling, everybody wants to get help, and we won't be able to help you all. Right now, if you call, we even have one-on-one consultation. You can come in, we have assigned a staff with you to go through it with you. Around March timeframe, you are lucky if we just be able to answer your question and say that go and try it. But right now, I can stand on the phone and I say, do this and let me see what happened. Okay, why don't you do the next step and see what happened? So we have time to spend with you to take your hands and take you through the reporting. But later on, that opportunity is not available. Thank you for coming. Sure, no problem. Oh, please, people that they want to use the PCs, we have 4 or 5 PC over here that you can play around, and you can use it for any purposes you want, so to get familiar with the tool. I appreciate it. Thank you. Go. No, we can handle it.
Hello. Quick question.
Sure.
The facility I come from, different locations. Like for instance, I have.
I'm so glad that I have you here. I'm so glad that you're here. You're reminding me of the mistake that I made. I did not bring it with me, but I can give you my number if you don't mind to write it. Sure, definitely.